Hey, Gareth, welcome back to F.A.C.E, buddy. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. I know that Blake said that you're really focused on Bitcoin. You want to share the screen and
And
tell us
and by
what's
the
on
way,
your radar?
before I leave, I just wanted to say hi to Gareth. Hey, Gareth, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, buddy. Good to hear your
Uh,
voice, buddy.
yeah, same here. And TGIFT, and thanks for joining the Face show with Dale. It's always nice to have you here in the community. All right,
Oh, sure.
have a great one, guys.
All right, Gareth. So Apple, I just want to acknowledge last time I talked to you, you're right about the top in crude. You said crude would come down. There hasn't been a midterm election where energy prices haven't declined into it if they needed to.
Yeah.
Kudos on that crude call.
Thank you. Thank you.
All
So
right.
yeah, so I just had the Apple chart up. Just, one thing we were talking, you guys were just talking about is, what was the market going to do? Were we going to get a little bit of a relief rally continuation? And one of the things I was just noticing on Apple, and we know Apple is kind of the leader of
They,
the tech world.
they say
Is
it's 7% of the market.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah. So it
correct?
makes sense where Apple goes, often the market will follow. But
Yeah.
what you can see here is there's a gap filled just up a little bit more, around 171.45 to 50. So it
Yeah.
does kind of make sense that this data we just got could be a little bit more positive. We still see the S&P down, but not by as much. And then if we get that little bit of dovishness from the Fed today, I could see Apple surging up towards that level to fill. Now it's not that far; it's only about a buck 50 higher. But
Okay.
we know gaps are meant to be filled in general. And bring up Bitcoin
Even
here.
if it's years later.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I
So,
think the
but I
stat is
mean, this
something
is this is immediate right there. So,
right.
yeah, nice look. I like that.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think one of the things to remember is that in general, gaps, when price gets closer to gaps, it works like a magnet to almost suck it towards it and pull it towards
yeah.
it. So as close as we are in Apple, it would be a little unusual not to see it fill within the next few trading days. But yeah, interesting today with
How
the
would you
Jackson
approach
Hole.
it with puts?
Yeah, so I think once basically what I'm going to look to do is look to short it or buy some puts once we get up
Okay.
into that level, because I ultimately am bearish on the market. I think that, the market's in this weird phase of saying, can the Fed engineer this soft landing without, collapsing the
Yeah.
economy into recession? And I think later this year, we get into a point where the market starts to realize that we are going to go into a recession, whether it's late this year or 2023. And the question then that's going to freak out the market is, how does the Fed save us? Like if inflation is still 4 or 5%, they can't really come out gangbusters and print our way out of it. So do we get into this kind of stagflationist type scenario? And I think that's really the scary scenario for the overall equity markets.
Okay. And just one more before you get to Bitcoin. Last time I talked to you, you were constructive on gold. And I was with you and gold took out that 1780 level
Yep.
before it broke to 1680. Do you like it here? Would you buy breaks in gold
Yeah, I
here?
still I still like it. As long as you're kind of holding this lower support around 1680, I think that's a really important level for it to hold. You can see it came right down there. It did sell
Yeah.
off more than I thought it would, to be honest. But I think that, you look at the
Yeah.
dollar and the vertical move we've seen in the dollar, and it kind of explains that away. And then you had this beautiful move up where if you connect these highs on
Right.
gold, we did break above it. We did come back and retest it. And so
And that
far
was
it's holding.
61.8 back of the rally there,
That's right.
Gareth.
That's
Okay.
right.
All right,
Yeah.
buddy. Just wanted
So
to know if I only know if I'm right if we agree. All right.
nice.
All right. Go ahead, buddy. So you want to talk Bitcoin?
Yeah,
It's
sure.
been kind of holding. It's a little, God, it's such an ugly formation.
It is. It is. I mean, to me, yeah. I mean, so basically, when I'm looking at this chart, I'm seeing a macro bearish pattern, right? So we have this down move with this bearish pattern, which looks like it's starting to break here. We then have another micro bearish pattern, which is this big red bar with these little inside bar ones. The
Yeah.
only positive to it is you can almost make out a mini micro, and this is getting into really kind of like short time frame stuff. But
Yeah.
you have these two green up candles, and then
Yeah.
these are all really flat inside of those two up. So what
Right.
that could tell us is we have a very short, small move up, maybe back to this line before the micro and the macro bears start to take hold and we go back down and start to collapse. So it would almost, I feel like this is almost too easy, where most investors are looking at this and saying, oh, that's an obvious bear flag. And,
Yeah.
and usually it's got to flip those people out by popping up just a little bit. Right. It's almost too obvious.
You remember Joe Granville?
Yeah.
Were you old enough? That was one of his expressions. What is most obvious is obviously wrong.
Yes, that's a great one. That is a great one. So I mean, and the other thing on Bitcoin is, I mean, talk about just dead. I mean, it's really remarkable to see the Bitcoin chart over the last 7 days, but even over the last, since June. I mean, considering the equity markets have been more volatile than Bitcoin for the most part, which is very unusual. I don't know if there's been a point in history where for months you've had, a bigger bounce in the NASDAQ, for instance, than in Bitcoin. And I think that tells us a couple things, right? It tells us, number one, that people are a little kind of, iffy on crypto because of Celsius, because of Terra Luna, all these things have made
Where do you
people
trade
shy
it
away.
if you can't trust having your account open at one of these,
right?
Whatever they're called.
Yeah,
they're not
one of these,
FCMs or I don't know what they're called.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And then the other side of the coin too is I think we're getting closer and closer to that regulatory clarity, right? And so no one kind of, the big money at least, was kind of like, listen, we're not going to take a position until we get a little bit more clarity, since we know it's coming sooner than later. We hear from Gary Gensler. He's been talking more and more about Bitcoin being a commodity, but everything else kind of a security. So what does that mean for an Ethereum? What does that mean for the whole space? So I think those kind of are keeping money on the sidelines. My hope is that, and again, I'm a long-term Bitcoin bull, that once we get that clarity, the market, and you know this, Dale, is like the market hates uncertainty, and that goes for crypto, that goes for stocks, every asset. So even if the regulation that comes in maybe isn't viewed as amazingly good, it might be the clarity that helps now bigger money say, okay, at least we know the rules. Now we can decide to allocate capital to cryptocurrencies. So
when do you, what price level do you back up the wheelbarrow to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum?
So for me on Bitcoin, I have it priced to go down to about 12 to 13,000. I feel like a lot of people are saying that level now, which makes me nervous that it could go even lower. But basically, I'm a dollar cost average person. So when I start to look at a long-term investment, I'm not the type to just go all in at one level. I like to kind of divide that amount of money that I'm going to invest into 6 parts or 5 parts, and I just kind of space it out. So for Bitcoin, 19,000, I even started to nibble a little bit, and then I'll probably do 16, 13, 10, 7, kind of, just little bits and pieces along the way, where as long as that long-term thesis of Bitcoin holds true, I'm okay being out of the money in the near term.
Okay, Ethereum seems to be showing much more relative strength than Bitcoin. Would that also be, way above its lows, almost like a different market? So maybe you go with the strength, right? I mean, maybe you buy Ethereum because it's holding up better, and on a pair trade, long Ethereum, short Bitcoin's been working for a while.
Yeah, it has. The only thing investors would want to be careful of is the merge, right? So how much of the upside that we've seen has been a kind of buy the rumor of the coming merge, and then do we see that kind of, okay, the merge is gone, happened. It changes how Ethereum is and everything, but does it really change the psychology of investors? And that's where I would argue that it may not. We know that I think what they're doing is going to be long-term bullish for Ethereum, but in the short term, everything is ruled by fear and greed, right? So right now, fear. And so I do worry that once that happens, you'll see people saying, okay, it's over, let's exit and kind of dump it out. And I wonder if it does come back down. So for me, at least, Bitcoin, Ethereum, I have a target of around 600 and change. So it gets down there, I definitely start accumulating. I know that seems like a long way from here, but again, if you're like me and you look
call
at the
me and remind me, okay?
Yeah, for sure. So if we look at the NASDAQ, right, and here's the QQQ, you can't tell me that the bear market's over yet. I mean, I'm just not buying it, considering the Fed has really put on the stoppers in terms of printing of money and pulling out liquidity and raising interest rates. And so I got to believe the NASDAQ's going to make lower lows even over the next 6 months. And if that happens, I don't understand how Ethereum would still hold above those recent lows. Same thing with Bitcoin. It's got to go below 17.5 because again, we just know that it's a risk asset, and it's going to, if the NASDAQ's going to drop down here, which is kind of my target, then I got to believe that those cryptos will make new lows.
Anything in the FX arena capturing your attention?
I would just say in regards to the dollar, a lot of people are calling for a big break on the DXY. I have kind of a resistance potential double top up here until proven otherwise. I'm going to go with that. And again, I just kind of go with what I see. And what you can see here is on the longer term chart. Let me get rid of my 200.
Yeah.
Is you have this pivot right from here, which goes back to 2001. And then there's a
Nice.
secondary trend line here as well. I believe this is the line here.
Nice.
Where we're kind of right into that point too. So that's a big resistance point for the dollar, and you still have a double top. So I'm in the camp where, you know, it may be kind of a little bit of a fake out push up here, and then we could see that leg down, which really should be in the near term slightly positive for equities, at least, you'd think.
Right. Okay. And oil, you know, we're starting to grind down here. You still have lower targets.
I do. We did hit kind of my first target of this pivot point, which was around $85. I still am in the camp where I think it likely will head down to about 76, 77 going into the midterms. Now, we're not that far away at this point, but I still think that that's a decent chance. But yeah, I mean, it's been an amazing move down. And again, the one thing I'll show people, and let me just get rid of some of these lines so we can really see the beauty of the charts, is just always remember that parallels are so powerful in trading. And this is my favorite parallel. You take the low from 2009, this kind of kisses right here in 2016, and you pierced in COVID. But if you take the body low and then look at how you connect, and it's a perfect parallel line to the Russia invasion high of 130. And then, I mean, again, just reversing. And by the way, with parallels, the beautiful thing about it is usually the highs will note extreme greed. So when we were at 130, I mean, you even had big banks like Goldman and other players saying 200 or higher. And the public was just so bullish. And for me, that's always a trigger where I start to think the opposite. And then when you have a chart that confirms that, it makes it a much easier trade to kind of pull the trigger on, for me at least. And that's where you get your kind of your discipline and your emotional control in line, where you start to kind of say, okay, when everyone else is saying something, let me be cautious. And then let me look at the charts. Do the charts confirm my cautious nature? And if you get that, then it's usually a really powerful signal.
Yeah, that's a great look, Gareth. Do you watch agricultural commodities at all? I think wheat is a sleeper down here. I know they've been able to get some wheat out of Ukraine, but you have that nuclear reactor there, and I don't know what weather is like here. The $7 area looks pretty impressive. If you go to, like, you know, even something shorter term, it's grinding something out here. I mean, really, what's changed between $12 wheat and $7.20 wheat as far as supply? You know what I mean?
Totally. And in fact, I mean, there's just so much support here. This is a really good level. I mean, you could go back to 2021.
You weren't looking at it before, were you?
No, actually, I wasn't.
Bet you do now.
This chart,
Okay.
You're absolutely right. I do. Yeah.
Anyway, it looks like a sleeper to me, and you know, there's still a lot that could go wrong, and we do have, you know, water issues everywhere. It's either, you know, we're baking or we're flooding, and those aren't ideal conditions for growing. There's still problems with getting fertilizer. I don't know if you probably did some fib work from those lows you have all the way back there to here.
So I'm just looking at this now.
There's some value. It's more of a value buy than anything technical, at least yet. But I do see some divergences in the last.
Yeah, and technically it actually looks pretty good. I mean, you got an upsloping one going back from 2020, connecting through the 2021 low that kind of we just pierced and bounced. And then you have this flat one, and you're almost at this level here as well. So there's a lot of support around here as well. But yeah, it's actually, considering that I'm a believer that inflation is not going back to 2 or sub 2%.
Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense that this is going to have another run up, at least a partial run. I don't, you know, who knows if it goes back to the recent highs, but even a move from 700 here to, you know, 1,000 would be awesome.
Yeah. So anything else on your radar? You're so quick and efficient with your looks.
Oh man, let me think here.
We have time if there's anything you want to leave us with.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I'm a believer that, again, if you look at the S&P 500, that we hit the 200 moving average. We kind of kissed it. We've pulled back.
Isn't that a little too pat, Gareth? That
it is.
The rally ends where everyone thought it would end. Wouldn't you be more bearish if we, I don't know, say pulled back to 400, 40, 50, and then broke through the moving average, got everyone bullish? Because I mean, no, a lot of people aren't bullish now.
No, you're right. You're right. In fact, from what I'm hearing is most hedge funds are heavily short, which also kind of shapes my view that you got to have some sort of push up here first. And again, we may see that.
Breaking that trend line and, the 200-day, and then the bears will have less a reason to rationalize their position and might force people to start getting long again. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, you could see, there's definitely some levels where if we did break through, you could stop on a dime, up here where you know that everyone would be bullish at that point if we got up to 445 or so, taking out.
That's what I favor.
Yeah, and the media, we know the media would harp on the 200's been broken above. I mean, it would just start to shift that narrative. Which
I knew you'd like that.
Yeah,
because you think we think alike. When things are too pat, I'm a little skeptical.
Yeah, me too, buddy. Me too. That's exactly how I think too.
So Gareth, hope things are going well. I know you have a great team at ITMS, and your interviews, you have a great following. You're getting a lot of views, and you get a lot of views. It's because you're right a lot, not always,
thank you,
but a lot. And best way for people to get a hold of you, would you rather have them go to at Gareth Soloway or at ITMS? Your call.
Yeah, I think at Gareth Soloway, my Twitter is the best place. It's lots of good tweets out there that kind of give market commentary, make you think a little bit differently. And then from there, you can always branch out, see what I do, see how I think. And if it's interesting, you can find me at inthemoneystocks.com or Verified Investing Crypto.
Okay. My trading warrior brother, Gareth Soloway, thanks so much for giving us some great looks again today, like usual.
Thank you so much, Dale. Always a pleasure.
All right, buddy. So everyone, that's it. That's a wrap. Everyone have a great weekend. Good luck with, Gareth, you still there?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. The inflation number came in a little softer. So is Moses going to talk a little bit more like a dove when he comes down from the mountain?
That's my guess is it's going to be a little less scary than the market thinks, although it's still going to be, he's going to have to keep that hawkish tone because he can't let up until we really see inflation down. He can't be looked at like he's kind of giving in, but I do think the undertones of a couple words might give the market a little bit of hope.
Okay, so Gareth thinking that Moses is going to cut some slack to the tribe. All right, so thank you, buddy. Have a great weekend. Talk to you again later, man. All right, everyone, have a great weekend. Good luck with the Fed. If you like what we're doing here and we're helping you, best way to say thank you is to join our community. And I'll tell you something, you're not doing that just for us. It's going to help you. So you're doing it for yourself. And if you really think you have what it takes, give the Trader Funding Program a shot. And God willing, I'll see everyone on Monday. Thank you, Richard, Mark, all you guys, all my Trading Warrior brothers and sisters. Thank you very much for supporting us. Adios. Oh, yeah. And don't forget, Laura, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Almost forgot. See, I get carried away with money too. I'll see you guys. Thank you, Sinatra.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.